Thanks for that great introduction. My name is Jordan. I am one of the GAs at University Recreation. I strictly deal with competitive sports and special events. So this presentation is a little bit of a dive into what we do over at UREC, dealing with training officials and training our supervisors to train those officials. So just a quick glance at our program. So we employ over the year about 90 to 120 sport-specific officials. These are all students at WSU. We have about 14 lead officials, and I'll go a little bit deeper into what a lead official is a little bit later. We have 23 competitive sports supervisors. We offer about 14 sports per semester, and that's not including tournaments that are usually one-day tournaments like softball, beach day, which we just had, things like that. Of those 14, though, 8 are officiated. 8 of those sports, we have officials actually arbitrating those games. We 3 graduate assistants, me included, 2 others, 2 coordinators, 1 assistant director, and a partridge in a pear tree. So getting into our goals, what we have for our officials. We have a lot of goals that we have, but one of the biggest one is reduce that turnover that we have. Being in higher education, we have a lot of college students that are coming and going, changing their minds on the whim, and we can't help that. But we would like to reduce that turnover of our officials. We want to increase the on-field and on-court confidence in our officials. We want to make sure that they're comfortable at all levels in all sports. We want to stimulate more buy-in with our officials and enthusiasm at all levels as well. And then decrease sportsmanship issues that we always get, regardless of how good of an official we have. Sportsmanship issues happen all the time. We want to make sure that we're decreasing those that go unaddressed and the overall attitude and inclusiveness of our sports. So, who's heard this term? Anybody can successfully officiate a sport. Anybody heard this? Anybody believe this? Anybody think this is true? Donnie? Yeah, okay. Yeah, false. Not everybody can be an official, okay? But if we let that be a barrier, we are letting that stop us from creating that potential, right? If we don't let people think that they can be an official, we're missing out on those potential officials that can become better officials and grow into the position. So in intramural sports, we are really special compared to professionals where we can expect at least one of these people to do one of the followings, whether it has rules and policies knowledge, whether someone's really by the book and can spat out all the rules for one sport, whether they have really good customer service, they're really good with talking with people and dealing with confrontations, managing attitudes, keeping that peaceful atmosphere that we always love, teamwork. I mean, everybody loves somebody that can bring somebody together and get them going, rah-rah, ready to go for the game. And then play calling, decision making. Someone that's really good at making quick decisions, which is really a big factor as an official right on the spot. So getting into recruitment, so extrinsically motivated students are the majority of who we have. This program is really special, which not every program can say that they have, but we have practicum. And that is one of the biggest ways we get our officials. A lot of students that need at least 10 hours, maybe sometimes 90, 45, depending on what they have, will come to us asking for, hey, am I able to officiate? And that's perfect. We need that. We need a lot of officials. We offer a lot of sports. We have a lot of people that want to participate. So practicum is not a bad thing. Neither is those lovely dollar signs, and that's absolutely fine. If you just want to come and get paid as a job, we are not going to fight you on that because we love to have people who want to come into work, right? But those intrinsically motivated students are going to be the most successful officials, okay? Once we get them into the door, though, that's when we'll be able to find out where their intentions lie. So what do officials need? So they want to be a part of the competitive sports community. A lot of people who have gone through our program or who have been a part of the community definitely can attest to the family aspect that we have. Our supervisors, our lead officials, even our sports-specific officials all look up to each other, are able to talk to each other pretty easily, and that's the community that we love to build. They need to work with our supervisors and lead officials that have already bought into the system. The process that we have put into place for our officials, we start with our supervisors and go from top down as all the way through our program. They need the resources, so they need to know what they're doing out there. We can't just throw them out there trial by fire, which sometimes isn't the worst idea, but especially for officials dealing with other college students, it may not be the most successful route. And they need the opportunity to advance, knowing that there's a goal to be attained as either a lead official or supervisor, even further up professionally, like a graduate assistant. A lot of people need that to want to come to work. So, officials' perception. So, how many have heard this after a game, the athlete who just played that game say the officials were terrible, the refs blew the game, that's why we lost? How many people have heard that? Yep, most people around sports have heard that, right? But I always come out with this: was it the official's fault that you missed a wide open layup and then proceeded to hack the guy who was rebounding it? Most likely not, right? It wasn't an official's fault that did that, but that's the perception that we have. Players and spectators all believe that officials lack extroversion, openness, agreeableness, conscientiousness, and they possess an excess of neuroticism. While officials believe that they're on the same degree with the normal population on all of these personality characteristics. Go figure. Everybody thinks that officials are really just in their own heads and can't really relate to anybody on a normal level, while officials think I'm just a normal person. Go figure. But this mindset is really what we want to build, okay? So we want to build that growth and fixed mindset. So a little video to show you all of the growth and fixed mindset. Hopefully this plays pretty easily. Technology working with me? Yes.
Researcher and Professor Carol Dweck uses the term mindset to describe the way people think about ability and talent. Dweck delineates between two different mindsets that exist on a continuum. The first is the fixed mindset, which suggests that your abilities are innate and unchangeable. The second is a growth mindset, which views it as something you can improve through practice. In a fixed mindset, you view failure as permanent, but with a growth mindset, you see failure as a chance to learn and even pivot. Those with a fixed mindset are more likely to view critical feedback as a personal attack, while those with a growth mindset will see it as a chance to improve, where they can develop new systems. With a fixed mindset, you're more likely to choose easier tasks and put in minimal effort. After all, if talent is fixed, why bother improving? Why even try? But with a growth mindset, you're more likely to embrace challenging tasks and work hard to improve. Those with a fixed mindset are likely to give up when they face an obstacle. Meanwhile, those with a growth mindset will view obstacles as a chance to experiment and solve problems. In a fixed mindset, the focus is on measurable accomplishments. But with a growth mindset, the focus is more on a journey of continual improvement. With a fixed mindset, you are less likely to take creative risks. But with a growth mindset, creative risks are simply a way to innovate and improve. Ultimately, your mindset influences everything from creative risk-taking to how you view feedback to whether or not you finish difficult tasks. And in the end, it's one of the greatest factors in determining whether or not you grow and improve in your abilities.
All right. So that's a quick look into the growth and fixed mindset, and that's kind of what we want to develop with our officials. We want them in that growth mode. We can't tell them to be there, but we can only hope that they have that mindset when they come into us. So they're more likely to be successful, and those early interactions that we have as graduate assistants and supervisors and coordinators, the pro staff and supervisors, their early interactions really can make that difference in that mindset. And if they have that good impact, they can improve a lot quicker. So how do we give others a growth mindset? So starting with the one-on-one level, for officials, we're starting with full transparency. Okay, we want to make sure that we're not attacking, we're actually teaching them. They don't know everything they need to know about soccer or flag football, but we're going to start with that full transparency, giving everything that they need to know. Moving into the 201 level, the acknowledging accomplishments. Okay, so we want to make sure that we're showing them that they are improving. They have the capacity to improve, and that they're actually doing that. And the key about this is showing them rather than telling them. Showing them like, hey, this past week when I came to watch you officiate, you weren't really getting to the spot where you needed to be. But now, every single time, as you can see, you're getting to that spot and you're really getting a better position on all the plays that are coming out. The 301 level, so this is getting to our lead official level. Honesty is key. So letting them know sugarcoating is not going to help them improve anymore. Once they've gotten to the 301 level, they know the basic knowledge and they know that they are improving. So giving them actual honest feedback is going to be the biggest improvement that we can see from them. Those that show the growth mindset will want and need that to actually improve. And then finally, the 401 level, challenging anyone that thinks and appears that they've plateaued. Okay, so it's pretty easy for a lot of people to get comfortable as an official, especially if they've been doing it for 1, 2, or 3 semesters. If they haven't moved up into that lead official spot for whatever reason, they tend to get at that plateau area, and we want to make sure that we're still challenging them to get better. Further stimulating someone to want to grow and giving them constructive feedback continuously. Getting into the fundamentals of the growth mindset for officiating, replacing the word failing with learning. It's failure and self-analysis, steering them away from saying that I failed, right? I did not do that right. Valuing the process over the end result, right? Trust the process. Making sure that you understand that not everything is going to come right away. It's going to take time, it's going to take effort, and it's going to eventually come if you keep trying, right? Celebrating the growth, learning from other people's mistakes. That's huge. While constructing, using those group learning lessons. So at the end of every game or every half, bringing them together and talking out exactly what went wrong and how they can get better. And then making a new goal after accomplishing one. And then checking your problems out the door is the biggest one that I always preach at my clinics. As soon as they walk in, I'm saying, I hope everybody's checked their problems at the door, because I promise you, as soon as you leave, they're still going to be there when you're done here, right? So that's some of the fundamentals of a growth mindset. So we start out with every official, they have to attend the officials info session. This is where we create that officials mindset and let them know that you're no longer a player, which most of the people that come to us are. You're no longer just a player or an athlete, you're an official. You're going to be controlling the game, and you have to know the rules of those games, right? So instilling that confidence and letting them know that you're going to have to learn, and it's going to be a process, but you're going to get there, and we're here to help you. So this is what our clinic looks like every day, and I'll go more into depth, but we have expanded to a 3-day clinic. For some of our sports, like elite flag football, elite soccer, and elite basketball, it is required for all of our officials to go all 3 days. For all the other sports, they have to choose between day 1 and 2, and they have to go to day 3. So day 1 and 2 look very similar, and day 3 is going to be where everybody comes together, and it's going to be the live scrimmage. For clinicians, we give different tasks for our supervisors who will be leading the clinics. We have presenters who will present the actual presentation, and then all the way through clinic station leaders, team builders, and evaluators. The preseason live play, which you saw before, we added this in because giving them time to actually put the concepts that we're teaching them in the classroom into actual practice is huge. We want to increase the emphasis on the live ball instruction, giving feedback right away as soon as something happens, saying, hey, good job, you did really good on that one. That's going to feed into their confidence as soon as they step onto the court when it's the actual regular season. More reps means more confidence, and the evaluation sheet, which I'll go over later, gives us a way to track their progress and gives them a way to reference where they were at in the beginning of the season all the way through the end of the season. In these clinics, we have pods, so we developed a sport-by-sport mentorship program, basically. So each pod will be between 4 to 8 people, depending on how many people we have. and each pod will have a supervisor in it or two per group. And this gives them one, faces that they're going to remember throughout the rest of the season, and also gives a face that they know as a supervisor that they can go to every single time. And then it'll help give them a resource, learn names, and just create a better experience. One of the major goals is to create a team atmosphere. So this is a very big thing because officiating is sometimes a very lonely sport. You're usually out there. There may be another partner out there, but it's usually just you making those calls, and people are going to look at you as the zebra on the field or on the court, making all the terrible calls, and we don't want that. We want to make sure that they understand that they are part of a team, and there's not only just you have a partner on the field, you also have supervisors and other officials that are here to help you out. Moving into improved teaching skills. So why do we have supervisors, clinicians for our trainings? They have experiences as officials or a lead official, depending on where they were at. They have experiences to help develop our officials. They understand that we have needs for our participants and for our program, and they're able to convey that pretty easily. The peer-to-peer connection is huge. You can listen to me or one of our coordinators or other graduate assistants drone on about the rules of 5v5 soccer, but after a while my voice gets pretty boring and I don't want to listen to it myself. So having somebody else that is also of the same age or near the same age helps them realize what I need to learn and how I can learn this a lot easier for my own self. And it's for their own development. So our supervisors are also needing that development, and it gives them a chance to step up and professionally become a better supervisor. And then the benefits of peer leadership are threefold. So it helps the students, the peer leaders work with, the peer leaders themselves, and also the institution as a whole. So before the clinics, we do a pre-clinic meeting. We want to be organized, right? We don't want to come in there all willy-nilly just saying, okay, yeah, I guess we'll talk about the rules and maybe I guess we'll talk about mechanics and stuff like that. We want to make sure that we're all on the same page. Everybody that's going to be helping with the clinics should be at these, and we're not going to be scrambling. We're not going to be scrambling during the clinics. We don't want to have, oh yeah, do you want to talk about this, or do you want to discuss this a little bit? There's going to be a time. We don't want to waste people's time, especially with students who already barely want to be there most likely for 3 hours. So we want to make sure that there's no wasted time out there. So this pre-clinic is a chance for us to all get on the same page and make sure that everything is crisp and clean and ready to go. And there's nothing worse than having the supervisors contradict other supervisors, because that just loses credibility, right? We don't want people saying one thing one night and then the same referee comes back the next night and another supervisor tells them a whole completely different thing. And that just creates confusion and just makes us all look pretty bad. The clinics, so we start with rules usually. We'll keep it interactive. Something I like to do is do a Kahoot quiz, something they can pull out their phones, interactive, answer the questions on the screen, and learn from that. After I drone on for 20 minutes, there's only so much information that you can take. And the knowledge of the rules gives officials more confidence than anything. Knowing that I know the rules is going to help me, especially when there's conflict going on or there's a call that somebody else missed. I can help explain to another official why they missed that call, because this is the rule, right? Especially when you're having conflict, when one of the players comes up to you and says, that's not the rule. I know what the rule is because I paid attention during the clinics. You didn't go to any of the clinics because you're just a player, and I have my supervisors, I have my graduate assistants, and the coordinators to back me up, because that is the rule. Getting into station work, so we really want to work on positioning. Think of this as like a Google Maps or a MapQuest, right? So I want to have an idea of where I'm going before I have to use that GPS, right? Before I have to pull out that rule book and pull out everything that there is to know about being an official for basketball, I want to have an idea. So that's what this station work really hones in on, is that positioning aspect of where to be and how to see the plays develop. That initial position and geography on the court is huge. An example is the home base position, which is kind of a technical term for basketball officials that need to get into the right position. And the mechanics, stressing the presentation and the benefits of having good mechanics, right? So if you're just out there like calling a foul just like that, people aren't going to take you as seriously as if you blow your whistle really sharp and point, right? So it's all about presentation, and that's what we want to stress during the mechanics part of the stations. Evals. So something that we do constantly is give evals, right? They're not just for the new officials coming in, they're for every official that gets to ref for us. We evaluate newcomers first to set the baseline, and then move into our lead officials who have already been an official for that sport. You don't need to be an expert on the sport to evaluate officials. We have evaluation forms, which I'll pull up in a second, that will lead you through it. And even if you're not an expert, focus on things you do know. So focus on hustle, focus on professionalism, mechanics, demeanor, things like that are pretty easy to spot out between someone who's a really good official and someone who's not really trying hard enough. And officials will get the most out of the comments section, which you'll see in a second. But the big thing is leadership is a dialogue, not a monologue. One of the best tools that I give to our supervisors is during the halftime or at the end of the game, rather than saying, all right, you did this, this, and this wrong, asking them, what did you see? Like, how do you think that went? And most likely they're going to know what they messed up on because, I mean, it's a game and it's pretty easy to tell exactly what you did wrong. Giving them the chance to talk about what they did wrong and asking questions gives them a lot better of an eval rather than me spewing out all the things that you've done wrong. Components of a good eval, so officials understanding, so be specific, making sure that you're picking out the important things to go over verbally, and then having them describe their experience to check for understanding. So making sure that they're understanding exactly what went wrong and how they can improve. Consistency, again, so don't contradict other supervisors and don't contradict the things that you're telling one official to the next. Conflicting information just confuses them and puts them in the wrong position. We're not giving the right resources to them. Only provide feedback that you know to be correct, so don't guess. Please, we tell our supervisors, please do not guess, because that's the worst thing that you can do. Also respect, so showing respect to gain respect. Demeaning officials is probably the worst things, and this is why we don't have a lot of officials come back, because they're getting yelled at by players. The last thing they need to do as soon as they step off of the field or court is to get yelled at by supervisors, right? So showing respect to gain respect. Hey, you did a really good job on these things, but some things you should improve on. That shows that I have respect for what you've done, and I have respect enough that I can give you some pointers to improve, and that hopefully gets respect in return. And then honesty. So being truthful and evaluating, not sugarcoating things. Don't lie to them saying, oh, you did a really good job with your hustle when they were walking up and down the court. And again, don't hesitate to provide that negative feedback because they need that to improve. Some expectations. So evaluate while actively supervising. So we want to make sure that we're not just focused on one official going back and forth all the way through the game, but actively supervising when you're out there on the field. We want them to aim for evaluating for at least one official per hour. This gives each official the chance to actually improve and get that evaluation process. And then you are still working with the officials you're not evaluating, right? So they all need improvement. You're not Superman. You can't do everything all at once, but we expect you to get at least one eval in per game. And this is what our eval looks like. So on the left, you can see each of the sections that we have. It's kind of hard to see, but we have pregame, responsibility, attitude, mechanics positioning, and then game management and control, things like that. They're able to score them on a rating from 5 being the best, 1 being never does the item. And give comments on each of those sections on the right-hand side. So the comment section, again, is where they really take in a lot of the feedback. And at the end, we give them an overall rating. So the percentile of where they're at, whether in the top 5 percentile or the bottom half percentile. And that just gives them a way to see like where I'm at compared to all the other officials and where I can improve, or how can I help the other officials get better. And then overall comments at the end, and that's basically what each eval looks like. Some have different specific to the sport. So soccer and flag football won't be the exact same, but the premise is the same. So biggest thing is to find your all-stars. We want to make sure that we're still building that competitive sports community. We want to make sure that we're inviting those officials back because we need them, right? And recruiting good team members to become those team leaders, right? We want those people that we can tell, hey, you're doing really good, and we really want to see you improve throughout the whole semester, throughout the next couple years. Come back. We would love to have you as a lead official. We would love to see you interview for our supervisor position. The people are going to easily see who's doing well and who's not doing well, and we want to pick the ones that are doing well and help them get better and become a team leader for us. So these are some of the themes for all of our sports. So we want to see the big picture, trusting your partner, right? So most sports you'll have a partner out there. Not contradicting your partner is huge. Make sure you're trusting them. Having them pull their own weight, right, in their coverage area. You can't see the play if you're not in position on the field, so we want to make sure the positioning fundamentals are always there at all times for our officials. This will help them with their calls, with their mechanics, and things like that. Sportsmanship, so the worst thing to have in intramural sports is that sportsmanship aspect where people are yelling at officials or yelling at other players. So making sure that at every clinic we're stressing sportsmanship and why it's important for intramural sports, because it's open for everybody and we don't want to send somebody away or basically tell them that they can't be in this program if they can't take getting yelled at by somebody. We just want to nip the person who's actually yelling out of our program, right? Expectations for our clinics, high teaching priority to our most accomplished supervisors, so the ones that have shown the aspects that we see on the field, actually being able to convey that to other officials is a whole other thing. So if they come to the pre-clinic and want to step up and help, we expect them to be able to spew out all the information that they said that they want to present pretty easily, so that they're not contradicting themselves or other people or the rules themselves. Many of them have not had a role as our lead clinicians have, so not everybody's going to be a lead clinician, not everybody's going to be a presenter, but every supervisor that comes to our clinics are able to contribute and help out as much as they can. And letting them know that the system works, okay? So it's not a process, it is a process. It's not going to happen right away. We like to compare ourselves to Theo Epstein. He didn't build the Red Sox or the Cubs in just one day or just a year, but the process was quick because everyone bought into the system. Everybody bought into the process, and everybody believed in what we were doing as a program. And why is this important? So why is this important? Studies have shown that there's a link to participating in intramural sports and above average GPAs. Students also saw an increase in self-confidence, high sense of community, and a better sense of satisfaction with their overall academic experience from participating in intramurals. We play a really large part in students' time here, and we want to make sure that we're still giving them the best product. So our main goal at University of Recreation is to enhance the quality of life for WSU's community through engagement and recreation, right? Intramural sports plays a large part in our students' lives outside of the classroom, so continually improving our program gives them a better experience and overall better experience in college. So if we can improve our officials, that's a pretty low-hanging fruit for our program because we work with them every single day and they're pretty easy to work with usually. That's about it. Any questions? Thank you.
So I'm involved with a lot of outside officiating organizations with like high schools in the area, and I've had a really good experience working with people who are kind of a lot older than me, kind of showing me the ropes, just like when I started officiating with them. So I was wondering if you guys work with those organizations at all, like if you encourage UREC referees to also work outside of the organization, or kind of just stick to the university?
We definitely encourage people to go out and expand their knowledge because intramural sports and high school officiating for any sport are two completely different things. We really stick with like the basics of the rules that we have here, and that's about it. While going into high school, they are way more intensive and way more detailed with all the things that they bring to the table. So we definitely encourage them to go out and go into high school. We actually work with the, I forget the acronym, but the High School Basketball Association for Southeastern Washington. We work with some of the recruiters and things, and they come in actually sometimes to give talks and give pointers to our supervisors and our officials to improve themselves as officials, because they have a little bit more knowledge on that officiating mindset and officiating positioning, things like that. But yeah, we try as much as we can. I mean, they're all busy, we're all busy, but yeah, there's only so many opportunities around here, but we definitely encourage them to get out and not just stick with intramural sports. Amy?
Maybe program specific, but do you have any idea what off the cuff, what the percentage is of the sport management students that do a 10 or a 45 or a 90? Do they tend to stay with it, or is it just a hit or miss?
They usually stick with it. So we've had a good amount of supervisors that we have now start as those 45 to 90s because they have to stay with us to get those practicum hours, but then they decide, oh, I could actually keep doing this and keep getting paid and also get a pay increase to become a supervisor or a lead official. So they get more hours, they become more bought into the program. I don't know the exact percentage on what we have for who's stuck out from the practicum, but a high percentage, I would say, because, I don't know, about 60 to 75% of our officials are practicum, and most of them that want to stay are usually practicum as well. Yeah, that's a good question. I'd like to see those numbers exactly. Yeah.
That was my next question. You
Right.
said 60 to 70 of them actually do probably originate
Yeah.
from this program, and the other 40% just saw the ad in the Evergreen.
Exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
I can do that.
A lot of, so it's kind of, we get a lot of practicum, and then probably the other 20 to 25% are usually people that have been playing intramural sports for a long time. So they are like, oh, I mean, I'm here like 2 or 3 nights a week already. I might as well get paid for it. So that's usually where we get a lot of our officials as well.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
You mentioned the goals of the program
Uh-huh.
at the outset. So do you do any, I know you talked about evaluation of officials, but
Right.
in terms of the process,
Right.
what, if anything, do you measure in terms of whether you're moving towards those goals or whether you're achieving them? Or
Yeah. So some of the ways that we kind of benchmark that process is through our evals. That percentile we upload. We're actually moving into Qualtrics now, where we're able to upload all those evals into that system, where we're seeing a survey of how we're actually improving. We don't do one thing I would like to implement is a survey of our participants and kind of seeing what they think and how they see our officials and have they improved from the beginning of the season to the end of the season. But yeah, we haven't really touched onto the participant level of where are we with our officials. A lot of the growth that we see is just by going out there onto the fields and seeing them get better. When you get onto Donnie probably knows, when he first became an official for, I think it was softball, were you a first official, or flag football? Donnie, sorry to call you out, but he didn't know where to go, right? And now he's one of our supervisors right now, and he's able to give a really good eval to some of our flag football officials. So not everything is black and white and able to put into numbers, but we just see it through the people that develop through our program.
Jordan, can you put up those, I think it was the first or the second slide, right? The questions you asked, the goals of the program?
yeah.
Sure.
I can't remember what they are.
The goals. These?
Yeah, so I think I'll re-ask Dr. Jennifer's question. So these are your officiating goals.
Yep.
So I think his question was,
Do you meeting these goals?
yeah,
How do we know that we are meeting these? Okay, so
the whole presentation is, this is what we do,
right.
right? So
Yeah.
How do you know you did it?
So for the reducing official turnovers, so that's a good question. So reducing officials turnovers, we kind of look at how many people we keep from semester by semester, because it's hard to go year by year with graduations and things like that. So we look at semester by semester because we have a lot of the same sports transferring over. So we have 5v5 soccer in the fall semester, and then 9v9 soccer in the spring semester. So we look at our numbers from there. So depending on how many people we get for 5v5 soccer, hopefully we get most of those people back for 9v9 soccer. And that'll just depend on how many people we have show up to the clinics. Increasing the on-field and on-court confidence, that's more of something that we can kind of just qualitatively feel. We can't really quantify their confidence levels. We don't really have that technology here, but we can kind of ask them, how do you guys feel? Have you felt your improvement through the season? We have mid-season meetings and pre-playoff meetings as well, where we're kind of gauging where the group is at as a whole, and then asking where they need to improve, and asking our supervisors who are out there every night. They fill out dailies and fill out evals where they're saying this person has improved or this person needs a lot more work on these specific points. Stimulating more buy-in and enthusiasm. That's something that we can't really quantify, but just asking our supervisors if they feel empowered enough that they can go out there and do their job, right? We're not asking them to do a full-on survey every single day or of how they feel, but we have weekly or bi-weekly meetings asking them of their questions, concerns, and things that they would like to see in the program. And from there, we're kind of able to gauge on how they think that we're doing as professional staff and implementing some of our new initiatives. And then decreasing sportsmanship issues. We actually are able to qualify that by the amount of incident reports that we have filled out. For every incident with sportsmanship, we have our officials fill out an incident report describing in detail what happened with that sportsmanship issue. And from 2017, we've had, I probably should have put it in here, but we have had a definite decrease in sportsmanship levels, sportsmanship issues with different participants throughout the sports.
Your fourth bullet point is not sportsmanship issues that are reported.
Right.
Sportsmanship issues that go unaddressed. Now, in your presentation, you talked about it's a pretty lonely business. Sometimes it's just you.
Yep.
And maybe your partner. How would you know that they go unaddressed?
You can tell that they're going unaddressed from the different descriptions of these incidents that we get. So we'll get a description on my desk from an incident report saying that this person has been a problem in X many games. We've seen this kind of built up, and that's when we know that it's been unaddressed. Most things in sports, for intramural sports at least, they're not spur of the moment things. They've been built up because this official has not been giving me this call, and I haven't really been having enough attention in this area of the game. And most of those sportsmanship issues are easily nipped in the bud, and that's when we don't get those incident reports on our desk. The ones that we get have been built up from game after game, not getting the calls, not getting enough attention from our supervisors, things like that. So, I mean, we can't really quantify those that don't get addressed, but we do get the ones that blow up into a bigger sportsmanship issue. Does that answer your question, Dr. Wong? Sort of. Expand on it, please, Tommy.
I think that if that's the case, then
He's saying reword the bullet.
really
Gotcha.
it is like you only relying on somebody's reporting it. So
Well, I guess the clarifying distinction is between the word unaddressed and unreported.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, that makes more sense. Okay. Yeah, I can see where that's kind of confusing.
So this is this new system that you put in how many years ago?
We just started this new clinic system last year. So we just started it fall of 2017.
I think you can actually quantify all these bullets
Mm-hmm.
with the simple survey from the participants.
Okay.
you don't have to do it every day either.
Right. Well, that's why I was saying, like, I want to get it from our participants because they are the ones that actually get that customer service aspect and can see where our officials are. We do have a way for our participants to fill out how our officials are doing, and we get probably 4 or 5 of those a semester, and they're all saying your officials suck. So that's kind of like the conundrum of asking how our officials doing from our participants, because we'll get the ones that are saying your officials are really good or the ones that are really terrible. It's not really people that are saying much about our officials in that middle.
No, what
So.
I'm trying to say is you said things about confidence level,
Uh-huh.
right? Performance, like the support that they're getting.
Right.
Those are really easy.
Quantifiable, yeah.
So you are really asking the questions to the
Officials. Yep.
If that could be done. And one of my question is the evaluations that's being done.
Yep.
That's comes out from the participant, the athletes.
The evals that we have filled out,
Right.
those actually are filled out by our supervisors that are out there every single day. So the ones that are watching all the games, that are supervising the fields or courts, are the ones that are going to be filling out this one coming up right now. This one. Yes, this one. Yeah, so officials will get this from their supervisors. Also, lead officials are able to fill this out if they have enough knowledge and feel like they have enough feedback for another official. They are able to fill that one out as well. And we get these every day. It's actually a white piece of paper behind a yellow piece of paper, and we give the yellow piece of paper to our officials, and we get the white one where we're able to input that into our system.
I don't know how I guess you can answer this from your perspective, but in terms of the theoretical grounding of all of this, what's your view on whether growth mindset can be taught? Because it seemed like you were standing on both sides of that question in
Right.
this presentation.
Yeah. Growth mindset, in my own perception, I think it can be taught to a degree. I think it's easy to get somebody who's on the fence and who's like, I mean, I'm getting paid for this, but also like I kind of like all the sports, kind of relating it to why they got here, right? So starting with, hey, like I understand like you're here for the money. Like the money aspect's a great incentive to keep coming back, right? But you're also have a huge impact on other people's lives, right? You're officiating the game that after a terrible day at class, after a terrible day at work or whatever time that they're able to spend an hour to 2 hours here with you. So you're able to make that experience that much better. So having that talk with a lot of our officials that are kind of teetering on the fixed mindset to the growth mindset, that's where I've seen the most influence of going into that growth mindset. But also, it's kind of hard to teach everybody when I have about like 45 officials for my 5v5 soccer league right now, and it's kind of hard to instill a growth mindset into each of them, right, if they don't already have it. So it's a learning experience for me, definitely.
Who's the audience of this presentation? Like, what's your goal of the presentation? Is this like, this is a model that we're using? And from what I've heard, and I don't know if it's reality, but I've heard that WSU's intramural program is just so much more robust and complex and deep and wide and everything than most universities, in part just because of where we're located, and this
Right.
is just a great outlet for our students.
Yep.
So is the goal to say this is a model for other UREC programs to see if they can implement the same thing? Do they have the same tier of worker bees that we have here, or can it be?
So the way I wanted to set this up for Region 6 conference for NERSA is to kind of go over what we've been doing, and then at the very end, kind of like what we're doing right now, but make it more as a roundtable discussion on the initiatives that they've taken, other schools have taken, and seen actually work. We are definitely one of the most robust and most recognized on the West Coast, at least, for our intramural program, because we do have so many graduate assistants, which aren't very prevalent on the West Coast at this point. More schools are getting them, but we are definitely one of the few that have 3 graduate assistants and 2 full-time coordinators, where most schools have 1 assistant director and 1 coordinator, and then the rest are student supervisors or officials. The undergrad that I came from, Cal State Monterey Bay, it was 1 coordinator, me, who was an intern, and then 3 supervisors and like 12 officials. So it's completely a different aspect, and then the sheer size of our program just kind of puts us in a completely different tier from a lot of universities. But yeah, for this is more of just like this is what we've done, this is what's worked for us, and more of just a discussion at the end, a roundtable of like, what have you done that's worked and what can be done to kind of fix those problems that a lot of people have been seeing.
But I think that would go back to Dr. Jenica's question on theoretical framework, because that would become even more important if you think that this is going to work, the approach you take, the lens through which you're going to use this program, because then, yeah, the other university may not have the personality you do, but if you know the bigger picture of how you're going to approach it, they can adapt to whatever resources they have.
Gotcha.
I think that you may want to put a little bit more emphasis, for that presentation.
Right.
You want to put a little bit more emphasis.
Yeah, saying how that can be implemented into other people's programs. Okay.
And then the first question, Dr. Jesuit addressed the effectiveness of that system, new system you put in. So how many really repeats really actually came from with numbers, and then their boost of their confidence levels and whatnot. You should be able to present something.
Gotcha.
That, you know what, this is working program, working process.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's like, okay, we've done this, I don't know.
Okay.
If this is working.
Right. Yeah. I mean, outside of like my word,
Exactly.
it's just having actual numbers for them to actually go with. Yeah. Gotcha. There's only so much I can say that we're doing well, but yeah. Yeah. You.
Oh, this is just kind of practitioner question,
Sure.
hypothetical.
Can't wait for this.
So let's say you're observing an official and they make a clearly wrong call
Yeah.
in the moment, and players blow up at them, blah blah blah. What do you do as the guy in charge,
Right.
to fix that situation? Which is not really what your presentation.
Yeah. Right. In that moment, if there's players going against my official, I have to back up my official, regardless of if he completely blew or he or she blew that call. I have to back them up, because if I undermine my official in that game, those players are going to see that this program is completely going haywire and nothing's going to be, they're not going to take us seriously from then on. So I back that person up. And then at the end, I would calm all the players down, make sure that they understand that this is intramural sports. This is not, you're not in the NBA or you're not in the NFL, okay? But making sure that they understand that these are also students, right? They take classes just like you, they're learning, and they're not gonna know everything there is to know about this sport when we only have a maximum of 6 hours to work with them to learn flag football or soccer. So reasoning with them at first and making sure that they understand where we're coming from, and then for the official at the end of the game, that's when I'd give that more, I wouldn't even really care about the full eval. I would just give them that one piece of feedback, that tidbit of like, hey, you did miss this call, but you made a lot of other really good calls, okay? So one call doesn't make that whole game terrible, and also reasoning with them, you're never going to have a perfect game, right? One of the quotes from one of the older NBA refs, I'm pretty sure it was Danny Crawford, said that once I ref a perfect game, I'll retire, right? And I think he just retired, but he didn't retire. He did not retire because he reffed a perfect game. He retired because he's really old. But that's one of the things that we've stressed to our officials is you're not going to be perfect out there, and we don't expect that. We just want you to keep improving from when you first get here till when you leave. So yeah, that's kind of how I would take that. But
who developed this form, and who developed the training as a whole? I mean, did you just revise it, update it, or?
So the eval we've had for a while, DJ Mackey, our coordinator, worked with another graduate assistant right before I got here this summer, Kyle Kinney. They kind of worked together and talked about what our officials really need. Because the eval that we had before this probably had 2 or 3 of those categories and then like a small comment section. But it wasn't robust enough where they're actually getting good pieces of information that they can physically see on a piece of paper. So they kind of worked with other officials, other supervisors, and ask them what they have seen actually out there on the court or on the field. And we actually worked with one of our supervisors who's part of the Southeastern Washington Basketball Association, who is one of the evaluators for them. And we worked with that person a lot on developing this program, kind of taking tidbits from what they've done, and that's kind of how we all put it together. I came in August of this, and they were still kind of finishing up, and I kind of added my 2 cents in and said, oh yeah, I helped with this. But Kyle and DJ kind of helped or developed this new form and the clinic system, and we all implemented it into our program. So, yeah.
For the supervisors that come back, or like the returning people, they have to sit through the same 6-hour class that they sat through like a year ago or however many months ago, or is there another like training that can elevate them to get to like as close as 100%?
Right. So our supervisors, they're not required to sit through all 6 hours of the trainings. They are there to help, and if they want to be a clinician, they'll have to go to the pre-clinic where they're learning the new training tactics that we have, and then that's when they'll implement it during the trainings, during the clinics. But no, so we don't require all of our supervisors to go to each and every one of those sports. But if they come out to us and say, hey, I want to help, which most of them do, which we really appreciate. If they come to us, then we'll talk to them individually about how comfortable they feel with the material, and then we'll tell them to go to the pre-clinic, and then from there we'll see where they can actually give their feedback and give their 2 cents on whether they want to be an evaluator, a presenter, clinic station leader, things like that. So can't really change the rules every single year because that would just be chaos, but we do want them to keep growing, so we give them new tasks and new things that they can keep growing with, whether it's starting as just an evaluator all the way moving up into presenting the full presentation of a rules clinic. So we try and keep them as stimulated as possible. They already know the rules a lot, but as confident as they can be, they do make mistakes as well, so we love to point that out to them as well.